What's considered beautiful is always shifting as trends and culture change. But, as the new documentary makes plain, it's not historically been very good at being an equal opportunity kind of thing. The doc is called Subjects of Desire, and it brings to our airwaves in Tacoma, Washington, Carolyn West, professor of psychology and associate dean of special initiatives at the University of Washington. And here in Ontario's capital city, the filmmaker, Jennifer Holness, whose documentary, Subjects of Desire, has already racked up several awards, even before its world broadcast premiere here tonight on TVO. Welcome to you both.
Hi, Nan.
Hello.
I'm looking so forward to this conversation, but before we start, I have a clip from the documentary. And Jennifer, you might recognize some of the people in this little clip. Sheldon, could you please roll?
Sometimes I also feel like guilt as well. Like, sometimes I just see my blackness as like something weighing me down when like it just should be something to celebrate.
I remember last summer, there's this guy that I was like, I kind of liked him, and I told my friend, who's another guy, they were friends, kind of a bad mistake, but he was like, oh yeah, like he thinks you're hot. He said, you're the hottest black girl I've ever seen. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm the hottest black girl. Like, that had to be said. And that's always a thing. Like, my blackness will be put in front of everything. I'm not just gonna be pretty because I'm pretty.
I think we've all probably heard that through some point in our lives. Jennifer, where did the idea come from for this documentary?
Well, first, those are my two daughters. And so it's very fitting that you would use that clip because, in fact, they're the ones that sparked the idea for the documentary. My oldest daughter, the one with the braids, I was sort of hanging out, and I was eavesdropping on a conversation she was having with her girlfriends, and they were sort of complimenting her on her, her features. They were like, "Oh, I love your lips. Oh, you just got the best little butt," and all this kind of stuff. And and they commented even on how her skin was so smooth. And I thought, wow, like this is completely different. And these were all white young ladies, and it was very different from what I was growing up. And so a few weeks later, I touched base with her, and I was sort of like, hey, wow, like, we've arrived. And then it was when the floodgates opened up, and both her and her other sister, her middle sister, Deja, also just expressed, no, Mom, like, we've struggled with this. We have not been really comfortable in our blackness. We've felt like there are times when they wanted to be white, and then, in some ways they've embraced some of it, but they've just never, or for a long time, felt comfortable in their skin. And it really shocked me because I felt like we were at a time where young black girls shouldn't be feeling like this. With, there's makeup now for black folks. There's all these celebrities, and yet, there's all these really powerful women. And so it really broke me up, and I just felt like I had to look into why my girls were literally feeling exactly what I felt, when I was a teenager.
You said that it broke you up. As a mother, listening to your children describe something that you went through as a child, what did that do to you?
Well, like I said, I mean, it's like, first you think I didn't do something right. Like, you think I have tried to express my own comfort in my beauty, my own comfort in who I am as a black woman, a writer, a producer, a director, feeling my own sense of social justice. I tried to project all that and try to express that. And I thought that they got that, and that was fine. And I thought it was okay. So you feel a sense of failure. That's first. And then you get mad because you're like, no. It actually isn't. You could do it all the right things, and bad outcomes happen because the voices in society, all the narratives swirling around us, tell us exactly what you are. And the thing is, kids are pretty savvy. At some point, they're like, oh, my mom's going to tell me I'm beautiful because she loves me, right? So they're just not going to believe you. Mm-hmm. So, you realize I realized that there were these dangerous narratives that I actually had been like in the periphery of my mind, I've always been aware of, but I hadn't really given that much thought to. And I felt like I had to make a film, but the film couldn't just be like, oh, look at black hair, isn't it different and cool? I really wanted to get behind where these dangerous narratives were coming from, how they were impacting us, how they have been sort of cultivated and continue to be expressed in media, in everything we see and do. And I wanted to dismantle them to some extent. And so I guess my response to anything that makes me sad or angry is to try to figure out how to solve it. So I guess in some ways this film was me attempting to solve something.
Well, I'm going to talk about where the film goes, and it explores beauty pageants. But I wanted to bring Dean West into this because I'm old enough to remember that having big lips was considered unattractive until Angelina Jolie, and then we had Jennifer Lopez and Kim Kardashian, and they were celebrated for parts of their bodies which were ridiculed when they were on a black woman's body. At one point, one of the young women in the documentary says, "Growing up, you want to be white, and it ruins you, so you grow up. And the people you wanted to be want to be you." We often, I guess in this society, we often dismiss beauty, and it's kind of considered as something as being frivolous. But what can the impact of this be on young girls and women and how they see themselves in the world? Dean West?
It has an incredible impact. I mean, beauty really is power for women. And so the message is very clear. If you're higher up on that hierarchy of beauty, then you get a great partner, or you get a great job, or your life is somehow going to be better, or at least that's the illusion or message that we get. So it really makes sense that girls of whatever ethnic background will aspire to this.
Jennifer, I wanted to bring you back in. The documentary Subjects of Desire, it begins by exploring the history of American beauty pageants. How have they historically defined what is beautiful and what is not?
Well, first of all, one of the things my documentary expresses is that until 1968, there were no black women on national beauty stages. And when I was growing up, sort of in the 70s and 80s, certainly in the 80s as a teenager, beauty pageants were huge. They were, we went home, we watched them, and it's actually centered womanhood, femininity, what was desirable, what is powerful, actually. And there were so few black women in there. And the fact that black women weren't even allowed into those spaces for decades and decades. So in my mind, that sent a clear message.
What was that message?
Well, the message was that we were not considered beautiful. We were not wanted. We were not to be protected. We were not desirable. And essentially for me, because I think beauty is power, that it took away our power. It diminished our power.
Well, speaking of power, in 2019, something happened that had never happened before. Dean West, in 2019, Miss Universe, Miss World, Miss USA, Miss Teen USA, and Miss American pageants were all won by black women. Why was that a defining moment?
It was a defining moment because, as Jennifer said, we weren't even supposed to be in those spaces. And our beauty was not even considered valid or important. So to have Black women win all of those pageants, it was a really powerful moment. And some of those women actually appeared with their natural hair. And it gave the sense that Black beauty was valued and that hierarchy of beauty somehow didn't exist anymore. But I would argue that that was not the whole story.
What was the whole story? What were we missing?
I think what we were missing is that there's a huge cost with competing in those spaces as well. And there's a lot of pain because some of those beauty contestants still received hateful trolling messages where they were told that they simply were not attractive enough to be Miss USA.
Speaking of trolling, this past weekend, the news broke that Chesley Christ, who won the Miss USA crown in 2019, died by suicide on January 30th. I was watching a clip this morning, and she was talking about some of the messages she got from people online. Some messages saying that she should kill herself. This was a woman who was 30 years old. She had multiple degrees, was a lawyer, and was a TV host. Dr. West, you said that what struck you about this documentary when you were watching it was that it showed how vulnerable Black women are. What did you mean by that?
What I meant by that is, I actually went back and did some reading about her and her life. And she was interviewed by Allure magazine just last year about turning 30 and some of the challenges around that, which spoke to ageism for me. But in that article, she wrote, I nearly worked myself to death, literally, until an 8-day stint in a local hospital. And that really sparked her awareness that she needed to practice better self-care. And for me, that was really a reflection of this strong Black woman narrative, this message that you have to present strength, you have to suppress emotions, you have to resist all vulnerabilities. You can't be dependent on other people or ask for help. And that, I wondered if that is really some of what she was feeling and what really made her more vulnerable to depression and ultimately suicide. It also just made me think too about that. We think the hierarchy of beauty is not there because in 2019, all these women won Black beauty contests, but she said in that Allure magazine, I can't tell you how many times I had to delete comments on my social media about, there were vomiting emojis, insults telling her she wasn't pretty enough and that she was too masculine. So that hierarchy is still very much alive. And that hierarchy of beauty that tells Black women that they're not attractive and that they're almost unworthy and just have no humanity. And she also said in that article, she really talked about beauty pageant contestants aren't supposed to have opinions. They aren't supposed to express their feelings. And just like Audre Lorde, she really believed that, your silence won't protect you. And she shared her voice around social justice issues. And then you fall into the trope of the angry Black woman as a way to silence you from having those opinions. And that fighting all of those stereotypes is just simply exhausting.
I did see a clip about her talking about those microaggressions, and you mentioned these stereotypes, these tropes. I wanted to show another clip from the documentary, and then we can talk more about that. Sheldon, if you could please roll.
Beauties on parade in Convention Hall, Atlantic City, during the oldest contest of its kind, and the one with the most prestige, the search for Miss America.
Historically, the Miss America pageant adhered to Rule Number 7. Established in the 30s, the rule stated that in order to compete, you had to be in good health and of the white race. And although the rule was repealed in the 1950s, by 1968, there were still no women of color on the Miss America stage. Black female beauty was deemed unworthy of celebration, and 3 stereotypes had seeped into the dominant culture. Born out of slavery, the stereotypes typically presented Black women as mammies, Jezebel, or the angry Black sapphire.
Those 3 stereotypical tropes, in one of your areas of research, which appears in Subjects of Desire, you talk about those tropes that were created by the media. We saw the mammy, the Jezebel, and the sapphire. Can you walk us through each and the mental health consequences of absorbing those images of each one?
Absolutely. The mammy image actually was created after slavery ended. And it really gave the message that Black women were best suited to be domestic servants or caregivers and childcare work. And it just gave the impression that slavery was this humane institution. And then we saw that kind of morph into movie images of Gone with the Wind, Mammy and Gone with the Wind. We saw it, that image was used to sell all forms of products, pancake syrup in particular. So the image had been one of the older images, deeply rooted in history that way. And so the mental health consequence of that is the expectation that Black women will always be caregivers. We don't need any kind of social justice programs or equal pay or any of that, because we can just inherently carry this load and take care of everybody without getting our own needs met. So that is hugely problematic, because if there's no room for rest or to be an equal participant in society. So that can lead to quite a bit of depression and low self-esteem and frustration among Black women, because even when you occupy professional jobs, you're still expected to be this caregiver of everybody else. So that's one mental health consequence of that. The sapphire image.
Can I just jump?
Jennifer, of course,
I want to jump in on that. I think the mammy stereotype is something we're very familiar, but it's incredibly dangerous too, because a part of that stereotype is actually that you are there to serve. And Black women's role is to be in service of. But here's the thing, it's rarely of your own family. It's rarely of your own self. So I think with Black women, you know, they're even amongst our communities, we've bought into it. And so even, you know, we are even looking at some of the social justice issues. Black women like are at the forefront of this. They stand up for Black men, or in the political space, and and that's at the expense of our health, but even of our own children. And if you actually even look at content that's created, you often see a Black woman sort of like doing things, and then to her own family is degrading, is sort of insulting, because the love that she has is not for her and those close around her, but it's external. So that's another part of the danger of that stereotype that I've seen in my own life amongst peers who are Black.
Well, how important is it to talk, because I know the Jezebel trope is of a woman who is very highly sexualized and, you know, is just looked at as a sexual being. We rarely ever talk about the mental health aspect. And I think there's so many calculations that people make when they leave the house. You're told that your hair, the way that it grows out of your head, doesn't look right. So you have to either relax it or braid it, or if you braid it, no, we don't want braids in the US. I know you're dealing with the Crown Act in 2022. So you're trying to navigate, and then if you speak up, you can't speak up too loudly because you don't want to be seen as angry. So there's all these things that you're navigating on a daily basis. And then how you look, how you present yourself to the world. Are you beautiful? Are you not beautiful? If you look at, you're talking about the history of beauty pageants, saying that you couldn't even participate in these pageants. Jennifer, how important is it to talk about the mental health aspect when we are talking about a documentary that is looking at the history of what is considered to be beautiful and not beautiful?
Oh gosh, well, the mental health issues, you know, impacts are unending. I mean, look at this young lady, for example, who committed suicide, and you know, imagine the idea, like if you actually look at her, she also fits into the stereotype of the fairer-skinned Black woman, which is actually more valorized. So even her beauty, her accomplishments, you know, her physique, you know, her complexion, which is again more valorized. None of those things protected her her mental health situation. I mean, to commit suicide is a mental health crisis, right? And so this is why I had to make this film, because what I was trying to say is that the plight or the understanding of what Black women and girls go through is completely ignored in this society. Black women and girls are often the last people we hear from in any meaningful way. Even in terms, I work in content creation as well as documentaries, but drama. And you look at it, for the most part, like everyone since the murder of George Floyd, there's been this push for embracing Black stories, for example. But 9 times out of 10, it is Black males that are being given these lead roles. Black women are off to the background. We're not seen, we're not heard, and when we try to make ourselves heard, we are, in fact, put into these boxes like the Sapphire, and that creates huge mental health crises. But because we're supposed to be strong, it means that we feel nothing. We're Teflon, and none of this is true. And so trying to live up to these narratives that's been created around us, trying to be, people have said, that I'm an inspiration, trying to be an inspiration, trying to live up to this idea that you must work hard, because that's what I was raised with. You got to be twice as good. You got to work twice as hard. These are the things that, are in the back of our minds, right? And
but you always have to be excellent, right? You always have to be great. Jennifer, you mentioned the Sapphire trope, and Dean West, I just wanted you to give us an overview of what the Sapphire trope is.
So Amos and Andy was a radio show and a television show that aired in the 1940s and 1950s. And Sapphire was a character who was married to another Black gentleman. His name was Kingfish. And she was always berating him as lazy and shiftless. And so that was the image that really showed Black women as domineering, aggressive. But their anger was seen as something humorous and funny. As Jennifer said, if it's directed toward Black men or people in your own community, that's fine. But the problem is those images have now popped up on reality television, where Black women are shown fighting, arguing, just being generally aggressive. And those images have real life implications, because what happens is when Black girls and women interact with authority figures like teachers, Black girls are kind of seen as more aggressive and sassy. They're kicked out of school at higher rates because of that, because they're seen as just non-compliant. So those images have real life implications, and they put Black women and girls in danger because we're seen as just inherently aggressive.
And Dean West, you also talk about you talk about resilience in the Black community, especially about the resilience of Black women, and you say that it's a double-edged sword. What do you mean by that?
In some ways, we've had to be that way because historically we faced so many challenges. So you had to develop a sense of resilience and strength. But that can also, if you can't balance that out with rest, when you can't, and self-care, and getting the resources that you need, then that's going to eventually lead to mental health problems.
And Jennifer, you included Rachel Dolezal in the documentary, and we know that she's a white woman who lived as a Black woman in the Black community. Why was it important for you to include her in the documentary?
Well, I've gotten some flack around this, but I really stand by my decision to include her. My film talks about Black female beauty, and it talks about dangerous narratives. And what it does say is that the standard of beauty has been white. Okay, so now Rachel Dolezal, in my mind, is someone who actually embodies the standard of beauty. She's blonde, she has green eyes, she has fair skin. And this is a person who chose to live as a Black woman until she was outed by her parents. This tells me that Rachel Dolezal valued Blackness, valued Black community, valued the life of a Black woman, which inherently is not necessarily the more high paying, to get higher paying jobs. This is not something that you're pursuing for economic reasons in my mind. So I thought, if she inhabits the standards that we all, ascribe to on some level and rejects it, how could I not have a conversation with her when I'm talking about Black women and beauty and the fact that we are actually compared or measured against the standard. So I felt it was very important to talk to her, and I really am glad I did.
Well, you said you got
what I found.
Sorry, you said we're just running out of time, and I wanted to ask you this question. You said that you've gotten pushback from having her in the documentary. Why have people told you why they didn't want her in the documentary? Can you tell us why?
Yes. Well, first of all, Black women are angry that this white lady is living the life of a Black woman, because we have been so degraded in media, in culture. Black women die at much higher rates in hospitals. There's so much things that we have to overcome. And so to have someone inhabit our skin and seem to get this value from it, it's actually really, really troubling. But here's the thing. Pushback didn't come from just Black community. As Rachel said to me, white women really attacked her as well. And I believe the main reason is because they can't understand how she could choose to abandon whiteness for Blackness, right? So there's an underlying anger that comes from that community. And she also said white men have actually, she's actually violently afraid. She's afraid of the violence that some of them have actually expressed in social media against her. So because of all those things, people have a lot to say. A lot of people were riled up by Rachel Dolezal. A lot of people have a lot of anger at Rachel Dolezal. And they feel like in a film that's supposed to be about Black women, giving a Black female perspective, why would I bring this white lady in? So, I mean, I expressed why I did, and I stand by it. But I also think we have to actually really look at, I mean, I understand why Black women might be angry. I can't understand why anybody else is angry, because frankly, what she did was inhabit Black skin, and a Black persona, not the other way around. So why would white folks be angry, other than the fact that it actually upsets them that there's a value placed on Blackness?
Dr. Dean West, I'll give you the last 30 seconds.
I would say what's really intriguing about all of this in this particular documentary, I think it gives us a chance to humanize Black women. That the understanding, if we can understand these tropes and these images and stereotypes, we can understand that they're not subhuman, they're not superhuman, they're just simply human. And we can see all of their humanity and the complexity that they have. And that's what's really powerful here. And I think if we can understand history, where these tropes come from, and we can learn to kind of challenge our own implicit biases, we can go a long way to healing a lot of pain within the community and helping Black women with some of the challenges that they face.
Dean West and Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a really insightful conversation. And Jennifer, congratulations on the documentary. It was terrific.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.